Hi there, I'm here today with Harold Guthrie, our National Accounts Manager. Sometimes we call him the numbers man. And
numbers guy.
The numbers guy, and I love, somebody dubbed you the denizen of the digital world. That was particularly apropos. Welcome, Harold.
Thank you, Ken.
So I see you came with some stats, being the denizen of the digital world. And you know what, folks, the challenge is folks watching this video will never really appreciate just how good you are with numbers. So I guess that's something that we learn about each other after 20 years. But talk about, you were telling me a little story here about the when a card is bad, procedures to go through to kind of recover that. So when you try to charge the card, it doesn't charge. But you've seen people do some cool things to get that, to recover that.
Right. With monthly passes, the concept behind that, Ken, is that I have the customer's credit card on file. Every month I hit them for a certain dollar amount, and then they're in this monthly pass, and they can do, unlimited washes is a very common theme there. Well, Americans generally manage their finances fairly well. But there's a percentage of the Americans consumers who don't manage it. So for example, when you go to recharge their monthly pass for that month, the card's going to get declined. Maybe they were late with the payment, maybe they're over their limit or whatever. Well, they're not only getting their card declined at your car wash, they're getting it declined at the grocery store, at the gas station, other places that they live and breathe day to day. So they will fix that right away. But if you give up on that after the first attempt, you're going to lose. You're going to potentially lose that customer.
Okay, so we have customers who, when they try to do the monthly recharge once, and it doesn't go through, they try to hit that card again.
That's correct.
How do they do that?
With our SiteWatch system, we have the ability of retrying that card once a day for a certain number of days. And on our website at drbsystems.com/numbersguy, I have a study that I did a few years ago where one of our customers did this. They retried for 14 days. And what they were able to do is reclaim 72% of the people they lost. The first time they retried that card, they lost 5.8% of the people. But by retrying that card for 14 days, they were able to get 72% of those people back in their plan and keep them in the plan.
Interesting. So roughly 3/4 of the 6% that didn't go through initially, they were able to recover after 14 days.
Right.
How did they do that? How did they recover it?
Well, simply by retrying the credit card is one way, because as I said, some people will make a payment and now their credit card account is good. You hit them on the day after they make their payment, or sometimes the same day that they make their payment, you get through. So you're now in, and your card went through. And that's a good thing, because the customer wants to stay in the plan.
Right.
It's just that day their credit card wasn't good.
Right. Do they do anything else to keep the customers in the plan?
Yes. Our system gives information to the cashier, if you're a manned cashier station, where they can look and say, hey, here's their expiration date. So the cashiers at this particular location were trained that every monthly pass customer, they looked down there and said, oh, I see your credit card's expiring next month. Do you have a new one that you'd like to try?
Oh, okay.
And so they were constantly prompting that customer. Now that's at a manned station. If you're at one of our express pay terminals or the self-pay terminal where there is no cashier, the system is able to look ahead and prompt the customer and say, hey, your credit card is expiring or maybe has expired. Do you have a new one you want to try? And then allows the customer right then and there to change that credit card. System checks, makes sure it's good, and then it will recharge that later that day or the next day.
So you, off camera, you had said, look, I've got some, the study is a couple years old, but you did a recent new study with some newer numbers you updated.
Right, I did just this past fall. It was actually in November that took a look at another one of our customers to see how they went, to see if their numbers were the same. And theirs was a little bit higher in that on the very first recharge attempt, they actually lost or had declined 7.6%.
Okay.
Now again, if they had stopped right there, they would have lost 7.6% of their their customer base. After 3 days of trying, they had reclaimed 42% of those folks. And that's consistent. What we've seen is in your first 3 days of retrying a credit card, you will get back the bulk of your those customers, or in this case, it was 42%.
Right, but the biggest single chunk of any activity you do.
Yes.
If I said that. Okay,
Correct.
got it.
And then what we're able to do also is after 7 days, they had gained back 54%, and then they continued going to 14 days as well, and they were able to get back 67%. So about 2/3 of the people that they had lost on that first day, they were able to get back. And it's great, because that's a gift that keeps on giving, because I've got them in the plan for this month, but they're still in my plan for next month, in which case I'm going to have other people's cards who are declined. I'm going to get those. So by doing this, you're keeping your numbers of your monthly passes up.
Yeah, very nice.
I'm sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt. One more number for you, Ken.
Harold, I love it when you give me numbers.
Okay. As I said, 7.6% was declined. By the time they had retried this, they were down to only losing 2.5% of their customer base plans.
So I'm curious, interesting, if I'm understanding it right, this particular customer retries the cards over a 14-day period.
Correct.
So pretend that you're a customer that is one of the 7.6% of your customers whose card did not go through that first try, but you come in the very next day after the recharge. Does the system deny them, or can they get their car washed still? How does the customer handle that?
Well, there's a choice. You can either decline that person the very first day afterwards, in which case they have to go talk to somebody, or you can give them a grace period. Most of our folks will give some kind of a grace period saying, hey, while I'm retrying their credit card, let's let them wash. And it's just kind of a nicer way of doing it. But I have other folks that, hey, that first time, they're declined, meaning they've got to go talk to somebody.
Got it. But this customer, it sounds like, does the grace period
That is
approach. And
correct.
so that customer could come in up to those 14 days, and conceivably part of the 2.5% that never finally went through, you might have lost a wash or two to them.
That's correct.
But the other 2/3, you're still going to collect that money from them and keep them in the plan. That's cool.
Correct.
This is some good numbers. Are we out of numbers?
We're out of numbers.
Oh, the pain. Just one more kind of neither here nor there question, but we've again gone through your 20 years of experience. Dwight was asking this question earlier. You've got he said 100,000 car washers watching this video. I wish. It's going to be a lot lower than that, but you got the car wash industry. Anything else you want to share about car washing in general?
It's a lot harder work than I thought when I first got into the business.
Go on that for a second.
The very first car wash I went to, it was a very busy car wash. It was the sun was going down. It was a beautiful night, and cars were just lined up, and I saw people just hanging out the window with their money. The guy was basically taking the money, pushing the button, taking the money, pushing the button. I thought, this is something I want to do. Once I get to understand this business more, I want to open my own car wash.
Yes.
But as I started going around and visiting car wash after car wash, I found out it takes a lot of work to be successful, and I just admire the people out there doing it.
Harold, you reminded me of, one day when I write my book, one of the paragraphs or chapters will be how many good folks, good people who come from a more corporate environment open their first car wash, and there tends to be a bit of a shock when they discover just how trying it can be to work with the general public at a retail level, working with staff, working with weather issue. When you're in a corporate environment, if it rains that day, you come into your office and sit down and it's real. But when it rains at a car wash, often you find yourself standing out there wishing there was business. So yeah, that can be a real shock. And it sounds like you, as an IBMer, kind of had that same.
When I first came in, I thought this was easy and found out it's not.
Well, thanks for your time today, Harold. Enjoyed the opportunity to interview the denizen of the digital world.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks.